Welcome to this video introducing you to some aspects of learning at university. There's a lot to cover, so let's get started. We're going to look at these 6 different things in the course of this video. Starting with independent learning. When you attend university, you may be experiencing a learning situation where you are in charge of your own learning for the first time. No longer do you have your parents and teachers breathing down your neck, making sure you're getting on with it. Here we give you a few tips with how to cope with the change. You are now responsible for your own learning. You'll be treated like an adult and expected to take responsibility for being where you should be, participating in taught sessions and undertaking the work assigned. You can't wait for other people to give you a push. You need to be the one taking action and proactively finding out what you need to be working on and when it needs to be done by. You now have more freedom to choose when, where, and how you study, so you can experiment and find out what works best for you. Do you work best in the morning, afternoon, or at night? Do you work best in your room, in one of the library study spaces, outdoors, or in a coffee shop? Do you like to work little and often, or go for study marathons? It's now up to you. You are in charge of these decisions. To be able to work independently, you need to know your own strengths, admit weaknesses, make the most of opportunities, and recognise potential threats to success. Therefore, undertaking a SWOT analysis can be a really helpful start. Start with strengths. What do you already know or really enjoy about your discipline? Which of the general skills shown here do you feel confident with already? Other things like motivation and focus could be strengths too. What about weaknesses? Are there any skills you're weaker at? Be honest with yourself. Admitting it is the first stage in seeking help and advice. This could just be looking online for it, or it could be attending a workshop or making an appointment to talk to a skills specialist. You're not expected to be able to do everything straight away, but you need to develop these skills during your time at university. The same with your modules. Are there any that you feel less confident about? And opportunities. As mentioned earlier, being in control of your own learning can be a great opportunity as you have the freedom to develop your own interests and ways of working. Make a note of things you're looking forward to now that you're in control. And finally, threats. Being in control can also mean things don't get done. So identify those things that you may let slip if you're not careful. If you haven't had to manage your own time before, you may find it takes some getting used to. Procrastination can be another issue if you don't have someone nagging you to get on with something. Like with weaknesses, it's important that you're honest with yourself here so that you can develop strategies to avoid those threats to success. Once you've decided what your weaknesses or threats are, you can draw up a list. Which need to be addressed urgently? Which need addressing but can wait? Is there a natural, logical order in which to tackle them? Whatever your subject, don't be afraid to return to the basics if necessary. It may give you more confidence in the long run to ensure you have a firm understanding of basic concepts and techniques. We totally accept that not everything about being at university revolves around study, but at the same time, it is why you're here, and you need to make sure you prioritise it when necessary. There are so many different support services and online information available to you as our student. Don't be worried about accessing them if you feel at all concerned. After all, they exist with the sole purpose of helping you cope and thrive during your time with us and beyond. Although you are in charge, you are not on your own. The university is a community of people all with the same goal, to maximise your ability to get the most out of the university experience. So we'll now look at time management. It's important to be really realistic about how long things take. You might think that something like writing an essay takes a few hours or at worst a few days. But when you consider all the steps involved in writing a good one, you realise it actually takes a few weeks. admittedly a little at a time. You need to search for stuff. You need to read it. You need to plan. You need to search for some more stuff. You need to read some more stuff. And then you write your ugly first draft. Then you write your better second draft. You need to leave time for proofreading, a bit more editing, checking all of your references, and finally submitting it, which often can take more time than you think. And of course, you need time for recovering. So you're expected to spend about 35 hours studying a week whilst you're here. You've a lot less hours than that timetabled with lectures, workshops, tutorials and things, so the bulk of your learning is independent. Here's some maths though. We know we have 168 hours in a week, and you spend about 56 hours sleeping. That's a good 8 hours a night. So that would take you down to 112. Taking out 3 hours a day for cooking, eating, bathing, dressing and things, you're down to 91. And then there's those 35 hours a week you need to study. So you're down to 56 hours. That means you have 56 hours for fun, socialising, societies and sports. You can fit it all in. We do understand that some of you have family or job commitments and may have to make some compromises, but remember how important your studying is. So manage your work around how you work best. Remember you're in charge of when and how you work, whether that be in short sessions requiring shorter concentration spans or longer ones where you can zone out and get into the flow. Whatever works best for you. The best way to manage time efficiently is to plan it. Time management experts suggest keeping a diary or using your online calendar to make time for everything you need to do. Start off with things that can't be moved around and then add stuff around it. Try to stick to that. But don't just abandon it if it doesn't work. Revisit it and change it if it's not working for you. There are many more tips on time management on the dedicated pages of our Introduction to University Study Skills Guide. To work effectively, you need to think about finding and organising your best study space. This is essential for focused working. Sometimes it involves a bit of trial and error. Some people swear by working in our library, but even within the building there are spaces with very different feels. For example, some people like the silent study space in the reading room. Others like to work on the first floor with the white noise of the buzz of the library cafe coming up through the floor. Still others like to work on the floor with their subject books and enjoy the views as they give their eyes a rest. This year, more than any other, you're likely to work in your own space more, with many lectures being online and social distancing still in place around campus. So it's important to make sure you organise your relatively small space well to ensure you can focus, be it on a lecture or working on an assignment. The purpose of organising your workspace is to help you focus. You want this to be as easy as possible to do. So, the first thing you need to do is eliminate distractions. Put away the game controller, clear out last night's junk food, put the phone on airplane mode and politely ask friends or family to give you the time you need. The next thing to do is make sure you have everything you need. Books, notes, a socket for charging, headphones if you want to block out other noises, water to keep you hydrated, whatever you need for the task at hand. Finally, control the elements of the environment that you can. It's not always possible to make it perfect, but do what you are able. Natural light is usually best to work by, so sit by a window if you can. If that's not possible, perhaps you're a night owl, think about using desk lamps to create a pool of light. Experiment with different amounts with dimmers or bulbs of cold or warm temperatures to find out what works best for you. If you can, adjust the temperature so that it's between 22 and 25 degrees for maximum productivity. If this isn't possible, think about moving to a different space. Finally, if you can, adjust your chair height and back positions to make it a comfortable and safe workspace. The main teaching methods at university are lectures and tutorials or seminars. Whether these be face-to-face or online, here are a few tips to make the most of them. Although it varies, the most common purpose of a lecture is to give you an overview of a subject or concept. Whilst they will give some detail, it's often up to you to do more reading to get more information or to see how it can be applied to real-life situations. Lectures may be interactive, but are generally a one-way communication. You should still engage with the material by making notes, and how you make those is very personal. We look at note making in more detail in the Essential University Skills video. There are many reasons to make notes during lectures. By actively engaging, you're improving retention of material, preventing your mind from wandering, ensuring you don't have to watch the entire lecture again to find an important point, and generally taking control of your learning by actively looking for connections, gaps, and overlaps with other material. Tutorials, or seminars as some disciplines call them, are usually far more interactive, and you will be expected to contribute more, often about specific reading you've undertaken in advance. Sometimes you may be asked to give short presentations, individually or in groups. In some disciplines, the extent of your participation in tutorials will be graded, so just turning up isn't an option. Of course, this year, more of your lectures and some seminars will take place online, but you should treat them the same as you would if they were face-to-face. With lectures, make notes, ask questions at the end or when invited. With seminars, do the preparation, take part in group chats, participate in breakout rooms. There will be a lot of variation in how you prepare and participate, but there is no need for online sessions to be less interactive. There are many more tips on the lectures and tutorials pages on our Introduction to University Study Skills Guide. It may seem a little early to be talking about assessments, but a lot of you may already be worried about these, and they are a key part of learning at university. Assessment can be either formative or summative. Summative assessment is the main module assessment that will ultimately decide whether you pass or fail the module. Formative assessment comes earlier in the module, and although this does not contribute directly to the marks, the feedback that you get from it will help you make your summative assignments better. Many students think that this makes formative assessment optional. Whilst you will not be directly penalised if you don't complete a formative assessment, your final module mark is likely to suffer. Students often say they wish they had had feedback before they submitted an assignment so that they had a chance to change it. That is partly what formative assessments are for, so don't miss out on that chance. Of course, feedback from your summative assessments is always useful too, for improving grades in future modules. There are many different types of assignment that can be set for an assessment. They range from the traditional, such as essays and exams, to the more innovative, such as infographics, blog posts or videos. How diverse your assignments are will to some extent be dictated by your choice of subject. The ones shown here are amongst the most common. Essays ask you to answer a specific question and have a set word count. That is usually somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 words. They are presented as a single developing argument, divided into multiple paragraphs, but rarely use subheadings. Reports are used to report back on a practical project or piece of research. They always use subheadings to split the writing into distinct sections, which have different purposes. These vary depending on the subject, but guidance will be given. Reflections are used a lot in disciplines where work placements are common. They enable you to learn more from the experience. Essays, reports and reflections are talked about a little more in the academic writing section of the Essential University Skills video. Most, though not all, subjects have exams at some stage. They can be one of a variety of formats, and some, such as scene exams, allow you to take notes and reference material into the exam room. Presentations nearly always involve you standing up and talking about a topic to a small audience. This could either be explaining a poster you have created or narrating a slideshow. In some cases, they can be recorded rather than live presented. Finally, as online working is going to be an even more important part of university life than it has been in the past, we thought it worth spending some time discussing options for online collaboration. Learning is a collaborative process, and you may fear that online collaboration is a poor substitute for face-to-face work. We are, of course, hoping to maximise the amount of safe face-to-face interaction that you can have, but rest assured that the online alternative does not have to be less engaging or less meaningful. Current technologies can actually enable you to engage with less stress and achieve more. If you have to do a piece of group work, it's normal to start off with a meeting to decide how to organise and divide up the work. This is still possible online. You can either do this synchronously, with all of you meeting together at the same time in a platform like Teams, Zoom, Google Hangouts, FaceTime or Facebook Messenger, or you can meet asynchronously with group members adding to a group chat at different times. There are pros and cons for both. Decisions can be made more easily synchronously, but you may find it hard to find a time when everyone is free. Asynchronous meetings mean you can accommodate people with work or caring responsibilities, but it will take longer and need some way of coming to decisions. If you decide to meet at the same time, then you can schedule meetings using tools like Calendly or Doodle to find the times when most people are available. Once you've decided who is doing what and when, you need a common space to share files or work together. All University of Hull students are given a free Box account, which has loads of storage and features, and works on a variety of platforms with apps or add-ins. One person can create a folder, which can then be shared with the others in your group using university email accounts. Alternatively, you could use Microsoft Teams, Google Drive or OneDrive, which also have file storage space. These also allow you to edit documents together in real time. Whatever you choose, remember to work professionally. Keep it polite, keep it positive. There's more help on the online collaboration pages on our Remote Learning Skills Guide. If you want to know more about any of the things covered in this video and access the online skills guides, please go to the Skills Team website at the address shown here. Thank you for your time.